that the Filipino seafarer is the best in the industry. In truth, there is already a decline in the market share of Filipino seafarers.
At this juncture, we are in a receipt of a bicameral conference committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2221 and House Bill number 7325. This is the bill on the Magna Carta of Filipino seafarers. With the permission of the body, may we recognize the chairperson of the Senate panel, the gentleman from Isabela and Davao, Senator Raffy Tulpo, to give us the highlights of the conference committee report. So move, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, the sponsor of the measure, Senator Raffy Tulpo, is recognized.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Migrant Workers and the chairperson of the Senate panel, I have the honor to present the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2221, entitled An Act Providing for the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers, and House Bill number 7325, entitled An Act Instituting the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers. The Senate and the House panels met last December 5, 2023, to discuss and work out a reconciled version of our respected bills. Mr. President, I would like to thank our fellow conferees from the Senate, Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva, Senator Francis Cheese Escudero, Senator Amy Marcos, and Deputy Minority Floor Leader Risa Hontiveros, and our conferees from the House of Representatives, led by Congressman Ron Salo, Chairperson of the House Committee on Overseas Worker Affairs, and the head of the House panel, with Representatives Marisa Del Mar, Magsino, Sandro Gonzales, Kimer Adan Olaso, and Marlene Primicias Agabas as members for keeping an open mind in reconciling the different provisions of the bills. Konting-konti na lang po, and this Magna Carta of Filipino seafarers will have concluded its long and turbulent journey. It is ready to go home to our beloved Filipino seafarers and be a lighthouse to their voyages. Mr. President, nobody has a monopoly of good intentions. Lahat po tayo dito, 100% sigurado ako. Ang gusto ay mapabuti ang ating mga marino at ang industriyang kanilang pinagkukunan ng hanap buhay. But of course, in an open marketplace of ideas, we will have different opinions on how to achieve this. Fortunately, the Bicameral Conference Committee that tackled the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers was a collaborative process between representatives from both houses. Everyone has the same intent: to come up with the best law that will protect and promote the interests of our seafarers. Mr. President, I'm happy to announce that matters have been ironed out in the BICAM. First, the matter of the annual leave. In the House version, they required 2.5 days per month in compliance with MLC, while in the Senate version, the annual leave was pegged at 4.5 days based on the industry practice. In the end, the BICAM members agreed at a compromise of 3.5 calendar days per month of employment. Second, the Senate adopted the House version institutionalizing the shipboard training, which will be regulated and monitored by the Marina. This ultimately addresses the repeated concern on the credentials of our seafarers and their compliance with the STCW. This would fulfill our commitment with the European Maritime Safety Agency, or EMSA. Third, while it took extensive discussions among the BICAM members, we ultimately came up with the provision on the execution of judgment and monetary awards where the winning party would be insured restitution of the disputed monetary award in case of a reversal on appeal. Mr. President, The BICAM version providing for a bond for the disputed portion is a response to the problem of unrestituted amount of 2.57 billion pesos when cases are reversed in favor of ship owners. This is too substantial to be ignored. And indeed, the international shipping industry has taken notice of this. While the number of seafarers deployed seems to be increasing, it is just because the market for seafarers have increased substantially in the past years. In truth, there is already a decline in the market share of Filipino seafarers. We are no longer the first choice of the international shipping industry, despite the fact that they acknowledge that the Filipino seafarer is the best in the industry. Dealing with the complications caused by the ambulance chasers is too cumbersome and costly for them that they would rather hire seafarers from other nations. The move toward providing for a bond has been supported by AMASOP, the biggest seafarers union in the Philippines. This is enough for me to accept that the bond provision is pro-seafarers. In the BICAM version, the said bond would be posted only for the disputed portion of the award. And if the seafarer ultimately prevails in the case, he will be reimbursed by the cost of putting up the bond. This is the win-win solution formulated by the body. The Magna Carta for seafarers is not the final law that will work on to protect our seafarers. Throughout the process, concerns have also been raised regarding the efficacy of the Seafarers Protection Act. I have taken note of these and will initiate its review next year. Also, if there are other laws that need to be passed or amended that could not be addressed in this law, I assure everyone in the industry, our seafarers, the manning agencies, and their principals, and our lead government agencies that I will immediately push for legislation that will effectively target those concerns at hindi po dito nagtatapos ang trabaho natin. Mr. President, I now move that we approve the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2221 and House Bill number 7325, an act providing for the Magna Carta of Seafarers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. We join the motion of our distinguished colleague to approve and ratify the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2221 and House Bill number 7325, and let the text of the joint explanation be deemed read into the records of the Chamber. So moved, Mr. President.
Before I do that, I'd just like to congratulate the sponsor. This, sir, is a landmark measure. Ilang dekada na to hinihiling ng ating mga seafarers. It's your term and your watch that made it happen.
Thank
so
you, Mr. President.
congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.